geskenkie wat elke borg ontvang, is ook 'n bydrae, en hier op hierdie koppie staan die woorde van ek help ook. Dit is 'n quote wat ons as 'n kantoor ingebring het om te sê, kom ons hou op met moun, ek help ook. En ons hoop om die boodskap uit te dra van ek help ook. Soos vandag, of soos met enige ander projek, dit is jy as 'n mens wat 'n verskil moet maak. So ek help ook projek word dan nou op hierdie koppie ook, op hierdie geskenk gesit, sodat ons dit kan onthou. Dankie.
Jy is dan nie op die foto nie.
Ja. Baie dankie. Ladies and gentlemen, wow, look at this. I even got my mug. Baie dankie, burgemeester hiervoor. Nou, ons gaan voort met die program. Is advokaat Natasha Miller dalk hierso? Ek het daar vroeër gewaar, is sy al hierso? Nee, terwyl ons wag om haar opwagting te maak. Ek wil net sê, ek het vroeër met iemand gepraat. By the way, it's CBD oil. Ek het uitgevind, CBD, dis die olie, wat jy het gesê van die dae, dis cannabis, dis CBD olie, dis die woorde wat ons moet onthou. So I spoke to somebody earlier on, and I was just asking her, look, you're on the list to come and speak to us, but you know, how much do you really know about CBD, and about cannabis treatment? And Dr. Sharon Price told me that she is probably one of the most influential people, not just in South Africa, but she's consulted internationally. She's been called for abroad. She trains South African doctors about the use of CBD oil and cannabis treatment. You know, with the whole case of the legalization of dagga, cannabis as we call it, her testimony in the court case was instrumental towards the legalization of it, and it was all science-based. It wasn't just, excuse the pun, smoke and mirrors. It was all science-based. So please join me as we welcome one of the foremost leaders in the field of cannabis treatment, Dr. Sharon Price.
Hi everybody. Sorry. I'd like to just clarify something immediately. I'm a traditional doctor, which means I work with herbs and natural medicines. I also work in the quantum field. So just a little bit of background. I've been doing this for the past 17 years. I was a true cynic when I first heard about cannabis and cancer. I was like, really, these potheads are giving us all a false sense of security. Is it too loud? And went off to see a scientist friend of mine and told me how disgusted I was by Rick Simpson, and basically him being a good friend of mine sent me packing, said please go home, study the endocannabinoid system, come back and have an intelligent conversation with me. I left with my tail between my legs, went home and looked at the endocannabinoid system, and I was shocked to see at that stage, 17 years ago, that there were 83 components in cannabis that are in our bodies naturally. So who was breastfed in this room? How many of you were breastfed? Nobody else breastfed? Okay. Well, let me tell you about breastfeeding. The very first thing that happened, you all broke the law, by the way. Anybody that was breastfed broke the law. There's a component in our body called anandamide. It's particularly in the brain. And the chemical makeup of anandamide is identical to THC. So the first thing a newborn baby gets, those first 3 days of colostrum milk, is anandamide. Anandamide is what gives the baby the will to live. It's what helps the baby to suckle, and it's also what gives the baby an appetite. At the moment, 17 years down the line, we've discovered almost 700 components in the cannabis plant, of which endogenously, so in our body naturally, we have close to 200 cannabinoids, which absolutely perfectly match the 200 cannabinoids in certain cannabis plants. To cut a long story short, I spent a year with a local university which kindly let me use their gas chromatographer, which is a lovely machine that you can actually test the medicines, that you can test the cannabis. I really wanted to prove that this was a load of rubbish. What happened is I ended up proving that actually this plant was made for our body, like many other plants. There cannot be almost 200 coincidences. And they work like a lock and key. So long story short, I ended up working with a group of medical doctors on certain patients. I left my career, started a new career, went back to study. And I wouldn't touch a patient unless there was an oncologist, unless there was a neurologist or pediatrician or whatever we needed for that particular disease. And what happened in front of groups of doctors, and this community is called SASM, they're a group of medical doctors that I still belong to, they did everything to make sure that it was science-based. One of the cures I'm the proudest of was my own mother, but I can tell you many stories, but I'm just gonna go straight to my mom. My mom was 72. I come from a really religious family. There was no cannabis in my house as a child. It was not trendy, it wasn't fashionable. But at 72, my mom got pancreatic cancer. When I fetched her, she weighed 42 kilos. She could barely walk. She refused chemo and radiation because she'd watched my sister, Carol, die from a brain tumor. after millions of rand, all the treatments, everything we could do. So my mom just said she's refusing it. She's refusing these treatments. And we started treating my mom. 8 months later, my mom was cancer clear. She lived for 10 years cancer clear, with many doctors coming along wanting to do needle biopsies again. They couldn't believe it. There's so many stories like that, honestly. Over the last 17 years, we've had many, many stories. It's not looked upon as something that's really positive, because you cannot patent it. How do you patent something that's got nearly 700 components in it? So people have tried to push this under the carpet. Thank God there's certain doctors that we've associated with and actually been trained with, and I can name drop over here. Dr. Cristina Sanchez, she's from Spain. She runs a large part of the university. She's proved over the past 35 years that cannabis actually kills breast cancer cells. Dr. Manuel Guzman is another one at the University of Italy. He's proved that cannabis actually kills brain tumors. So I can tell you what people say, there's no science. There's loads of science backing this, guys. So I just want to introduce you to a couple of plants briefly. And the first one is, let's talk about cannabis first. Because what really shocked me about this plant, which I really didn't believe this, but what shocked me was the many uses of cannabis. So if you start looking at it from an industrial point of view, all the ship sails, all the ropes and everything 90 years ago were all made with hemp. Not only is hemp good for fibers, textiles, ropes and clothing, some of the most beautiful clothing you've seen, and you'll hand that clothing down, it doesn't wear out. But you can also make bioplastics, packaging. I have a friend, Tony Budden, who's very involved in the hemp industry. Tony's entire house is built from hemp bricks. Not only is his house built from hemp bricks, his floor is made from hemp fiber, his curtains are made from hemp, his furniture, fabric coverings are made from hemp. In fact, I laughed when I first sat in his house and asked him if there was anything in the room that wasn't hemp. And he said, yes, Sharon, my guitar. So you can honestly, far more sustainable than a normal cement brick is a hemp brick, and used for thousands of years already. Paper alternatives, biofuel source. It's actually a bioaccumulator, so you can use cannabis to pull toxins out of the soil. Then let's go to medical, because that's really my interest. So I was blown away to see that all these things can happen from one little plant. And by the way, that's the boy plant. So the boy plant can make, they've made motor cars out of hemp already. Henry Ford's first motor car was made out of hemp. And not only that, it ran on hemp oil. But my true interest is medicinal. It's been an incredible journey the last 17 years. I personally have had cancer twice. And thank God I knew about cannabis then. But the things that we're working with cannabis with for medicinal purposes is pain management, chronic inflammatory pain, and also cancer-related pain. It's a true anti-inflammatory for Crohn's, arthritis, fibromyalgia. If we talk about seizures, if you go back to Colorado was selling something called Sativex. Sativex is a synthetic form of THC, one single component. What happened when Colorado opened their doors to full THC, CBD, CBN, CBG medicines? Sativex sales went by 72%. Because people were having results from the full plant extraction. And the so-called evil THC is a thing that can actually cause apoptosis of a cancer cell or suicide of a cancer cell. When the FDA made cannabis illegal, especially THC, on the very same day they took out a patent on THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. Guess for what? For seizures and cannabis. They still hold the patent, but unfortunately you cannot patent it. God made this plant. The other stuff that I've seen is anxiety, PTSD, incredible results, and it doesn't take a week. It's 2 or 3 doses. Same with bipolar, depression. We take people off drugs and put them on this plant. Side effects is, if you overdose, you giggle a lot, you eat a lot. Terrible side effects. Not that we want people to overdose. I work with a lot of elderly people, and like I said, my mom was the first one, and my mom was not somebody to mess around with drugs. Another big thing that it does is appetite stimulation. So I work a lot with patients that do chemo and radiation, but we work on the sideline. So just recently I had a mom phoning because her teenage son had stopped eating during his chemo treatment. She phoned me crying, and I thought, oh my word, something terrible happened. She was crying because her son made her stop at a takeaway on the way home after chemo. So it's a lifesaver for many reasons. It helps you sleep, it regulates the circadian rhythm. It's a neuroprotector. It can actually make new neurotransmitters in your brain. Literally, if there were some neurotransmitter removed surgically or in a car accident, whatever, cannabis, particularly THC again, goes to the brain, stimulates the neurotransmitters to remap themselves and start firing again. So people who've lost the use of their arms suddenly start having the use, and many different things. One of the biggest things that I love cannabis for is it's an anti-eogenesis. So what that means is basically it inhibits, with proper dosing and so on, it actually stops the blood flow to tumors. So we've had a guy that came into the tumor this size, hanging over his eye. It had been there. His cancer started 5 years ago. He flew into South Africa. It was treated with an integrative oncologist. Went back home again, and when he called me again, the tumor was that size, hanging over his eye. They wanted to cut his eye out, radiate in the eyeball, and do chemo and radiation. He ran away. He literally got in an airplane and came to a clinic in Plett. That whole tumor fell off. He's got 20/20 vision in the eye that they wanted to remove. I'm talking about miracles, but I'd like to warn everybody that this is not a thing that everybody on the street corner can do. It's science-based. So the training that I give medical doctors is certified training. So if there are any doctors in the room, they'll know what CPD points are. Our training gives you 14 CPD points. I don't know anybody else. The next closest medical cannabis training is 6 CPD points. We really are putting the science on the table. Further down the line, we started consulting patient-centered, patient first. When you come into our room, you are the most important. No 10-minute appointments. And we also support the family through an 8-month cancer protocol. That protocol will involve diet, some serious quantum diagnostics. So for example, if a kid comes to us with seizures, the first thing we do is a hair analysis. That hair analysis gives me a 45-page printout on the mercury levels, the lead levels, that we never have a child having seizures without high metal content in their brain. So we work with repairing those things and treating the disease. Along the line, a few years ago, I discovered something else that really blew me away, like cannabis did, and that was medicinal mushrooms. I'm not talking about the mushrooms that make you high. There's so many other mushrooms, and I'm just going to go through a few of them. Let's first start with mushrooms industrial use. Mushrooms are incredible. You can clean an oil slick with mushrooms. You can decontaminate your garden of toxins with mushrooms. Some of the most beautiful leather things I've seen are made from mushrooms. Hats, shoes, jackets, bags. It creates soil regeneration, natural dyes and pigments. But again, my most favorite part of mushrooms is the medical side. And immediately, looking at turkey, tail, reishi, no high. There's absolutely no high from these mushrooms. But they do immune system support. Neurogenesis and brain repairs, good old lion's mane. All of us should go into lion's mane. From about 35, 40, we should all be taking a teaspoon of lion's mane in our tea first thing in the morning. It's a game changer. Like cannabis that creates neurogenesis in the brain, the amazing things that mushrooms create neurogenesis in the brain. So we've treated people with Alzheimer's and completely brought somebody back that didn't even know her 2 daughters, which both happened to be doctors. She turned around and started remembering everything, and amongst that, remembering her daughters. It has serious anti-cancer properties, so look at turkey tail, guys. It's a beautiful thing. Again, I have every morning, it doesn't matter what, I have a teaspoon of turkey tail and a teaspoon of lion's mane in my drink. And I definitely don't get high. Turkey tail has huge anti-cancer properties, huge anti-inflammatory properties. There's gut health, microbiome support, antiviral, antibacterial. I can go on and on and on. So here again is another thing that God made. Natural, absolutely natural. It's growing in our gardens. It must be bad. I'd like to talk a little bit about quantum because I was so cynical. I needed to know exactly what was going on. Like I needed to know what was going on in the cannabis plant, I needed to know what was going on in the patient's body. I really am excited to tell everybody that there's incredible equipment available today that is non-invasive and that really I can scan your entire body head to toe, do live bloods on you, and within an hour you walk out with a pile of papers. You can see exactly what's going on in your body. Cancer is metabolic. What I mean by metabolic is the tumor didn't fly in through the window into your breast. Your body made the tumor. So if your body can make the tumor, it can unmake the tumor. But it is a whole protocol. So some of the machines that we work with is, for example, the thermoscan. Ladies, you stand behind a curtain, photograph, photograph, photograph. It's so simple, but a thermoscan can tell you 10 years before you actually get the tumor that you're going to get breast cancer. So we all know that World Health Organization recently for the second time warned us about mammograms. Not to do constant mammograms because people are misdiagnosed. And a young girl that starts with mammograms at a young age is guaranteed to get cancer. And this is not from me, this is from the World Health Organization. So I really would like people to know that you can have thermoscans, you can have brain scans, you can have full body scans, you can also have bioresonance treatment. So I'll just talk about one machine. There are many, many machines. But one of the machines that we discovered recently, I was on a NASA site and I noticed that the astronauts, when they go up into space, become exhausted and their mitochondria. Now the mitochondria is a gene that you get from your mom only, and the mitochondria supports the immune system. So for cancer to happen, we've all got cancer, everybody in this room's got cancer in their body, but the only time the cancer begins to grow is when you actually shut the immune system. Long story short, we looked at this incredible machine, 12 minutes, it stimulates your mitochondria, which means it begins to support your immune system. The moment the immune system switches off, cancer is in trouble. We purchased the machine, brought it into South Africa. It's in Plettenberg Bay. It's an incredible machine. We have multiple machines that we can talk about. It's just medicine has changed, guys. It's literally, there's been a paradigm shift. It's more patient orientated. It's also family orientated. I try to put into my practice everything that I saw missing when my sister had her brain tumor. Family needs support. Just because mom has cancer doesn't mean the kids aren't suffering, doesn't mean the husband isn't suffering, and vice versa. Not only do family need support, the patient needs support. We have an open WhatsApp line available to patients at no cost. We don't answer the WhatsApps immediately, but if a patient is not pooping, I want to know he's not pooping. Because the moment you're constipated, you're starting to build up inflammation and toxins in your body. So it's been an incredible journey over the past 17 years, and it's totally science-based, guys. So I'd like to open for questions if anybody wants to ask any questions. No? Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for giving me the platform.
Well, thank you very much to Dr. Sharon Price. It's all about cannabis treatment, and I've learned something new. I said it's about cannabis treatment, but mushrooms and machines and everything. I'm being treated here. I'm a glutton for knowledge, by the way. If you look around, you'll see that we don't just have medical professionals here and people in the medical field. There are also support functions, and one of the biggest support functions for our own health is, of course, medical aid, because without the money, without the ability to pay for certain expenses, and treatment is expensive these days, very few of us would be sitting here today. So we're going to be calling the first of the presenters in the medical aid realm today, and that's a representative from LA Health, Mr. Pieter Leroux. En ek het vroeër vir hom gevra, Pieter, nou hoe kondig ek jou aan? Hy sê ek is die enigste ou hier wat nie 'n dokter is nie. Well, here he is, Mr. Pieter Leroux van LA Health.
Yes, thank you very much, Gavin. Julle ken ons storie. Hulle sê altyd as jy by 'n braaivleisvuur staan, when you're having a braai with your friends, they say, can I introduce you to my doctor friend Koos, or can I introduce you to my advocate friend Gert? But they don't say, I want to introduce you to my broker Pieter. So, thank you very much for the opportunity, guys, to speak to you about Know Your Health. I think that is important from a medical aid perspective. My name is Pieter Leroux, like Gavin said, and I've been an independent financial advisor for 35 years. But once again, I've prepared a presentation of a few pages, and I thought it good not to use this presentation. Like always, I go with the flow. I see what happens and who's present and who's not present, and I take it from there. So I want to tell you a little story. A few years ago, me and my sister's husband, we went on a mountain bike race, the Wines to Wales. And on this mountain bike race, the first morning when we started, there was ladies right next to us, and they bombarded us with pamphlets and socks and stickers. And before I can do anything, one of these ladies took a sticker and she stuck it on my helmet. And the sticker says, I love boobies. Now, there's a lot of cancer initiatives, and at that stage, I didn't know this is a cancer initiative. So I was thinking the whole time, how am I going to explain to my wife when I get home, I don't love boobies, or I do love boobies, or was a difficult one. These TV cameras on you, and so I just, when I walked in here this morning, I felt like praying. You know, there's so many people that's got so many good initiatives going around cancer and cancer awareness. And from a medical aid perspective, we can give you stats: 41% of women breast cancer, 35% men prostate cancer. So cancer is a reality. What do you do? What do you do not to get diagnosed with cancer? There's a few things: your diet, healthy living. But from a medical aid perspective, what I think is really a winner for LA Health, Discovery, and most of the medical schemes nowadays is the screening tests. This morning when I walked in here, I saw a long queue, everybody doing their screens at the Mediclinic, and I thought, we've really come a long way with all this cancer awareness. So from my side, I really want to congratulate all the stalls here today, everybody that's helping with this cancer awareness. So what I want to do is I want to call on Hayley, or one of the sisters that did all the screens here today. We've got a little gift pack here that we want to give away. It's a lot of healthy items, or not. I think there's a little bit of sweets there in biltong. I need that list. The first person that did their screen test today, please. Heidi was going to give it to me. And then what we'll do is we'll give this gift back to the first person that did their screening test today. There's not a lot of people left, so I don't know any name that you have got there. Okay, this is not going to work. Is there anybody sitting here that did a test today, screen test? Cholesterol test, blood pressure test. Also, come. Come collect a gift. Come. Kom. I think the most important thing today from our side is know your health. And you can only know your health if you do your screen tests. With LA Health, we implemented a benefit where we actually rewarding people to go for their screening tests, because people they don't line up and do their screen tests like what we saw here today. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Gavin.
Thank you very much, Peter. Now, I see that LA Health left each one of us a little calendar here, and they've even left space to make notes. I hope you've used that today. Now, before we call on our next speaker, please indulge me when I just say a little thing about the organization that I'm with, Escape. As jy daai E toemaak, and if you just read the yellow part, it's actually Escape for Southern Cape. So we just put the E in front to dovetail with the garden route, Escape. What we are is a brand new radio station in the Southern Cape. I moved down here from Cape Town about a year and a half ago. But I grew up in Oudtshoorn until I was 10 years old. Toe stuur hulle vir my terug Kaap toe, en toe leer hulle vir my raar praat. So ek probeer nog om te begryp, maar I can't quite get there, but I will. Please. So what Escape is a radio station that hopes to fill the gap. Because I couldn't understand, coming from Cape Town, why KFM is still the most listened to radio station in the Southern Cape. It doesn't make sense to me. Why people in Knysna still listen to Algoa FM. When they do the traffic, they don't talk about Voortrekker weg hier in Oudtshoorn. Hulle praat van Bulbus Uitnoot en wat ook al daar aan die kant in Bellville. And it just doesn't compute to me. So what Escape is a radio station that's going to fill that gap to make sure that we keep the Southern Cape. I don't care if the wind is blowing on Table Mountain when I have to take my kid to school in the morning here in Oudtshoorn. This is where we are. Now, I know we've got other radio stations here, and we're not going up against them. We are actually going to go up against the likes of KFM and Algoa FM. Now, we are in the process of applying for our radio frequency now. So where we are, Escape Online at the moment, it will probably become Escape 103.2 or something like that. It's lekker nie, as mense so sê, Escape 103.2 FM. Also, and what we want to do is we want to bring quality radio to the Southern Cape. Now, I grew up in radio all my life, and for people who know radio in Cape Town, I was part of the crew that started Bok Radio. I was part of the crew that started Smile FM. I've trained people who are on KFM. I trained Tracy Lang, who can say that? And this is what I'm bringing to the Southern Cape. What we need from you guys is support. We need to show ICASA that we've got support for this initiative. And so, especially those in position of influence, leave me your details. I'll send you something that you can just print on your letterhead, send it back to us, and we'll attach that to our application. Ons is môre by die Weyers Memorial. Hulle het glo 'n mega braai daar. So ons gaan ook 'n lys hê waar individue kan kom teken en sê ons ondersteun hierdie inisiatief. So asseblief ons sal dit waardeer en ek beloof solank as ek betrokke is by Escape, gaan ons seker maak dat julle die beste gehalte radio kry wat 'n mens kan kry. Okay, enough about me. That is the end of this ad break. Sien, dit klink lekker op die radio, né? So ons volgende spreker is van Key Health. As ons nou moet voortgaan met ons mediese skemas, kom ons verwelkom Jody Turner.
Good afternoon, goeiemiddag almal. My name is Jody Turner, I'm from Key Health Medical Scheme. Ek gaan nie lang praat nie, because I know that you've had a long day and it's a lot of information that you've had to absorb. But I would like to highlight again is the importance of medical aid. You don't know how important it is until you or any of your family members are diagnosed with a dreaded disease. You don't know the impact that it has financially and just your time. Being able to go to a state, having options available to you on the type of treatment that you can receive, and the importance of gap cover for any shortfalls. Now, Key Health as a medical scheme, we want to emphasize again the importance of regular screenings. We allow ladies to go every year for their pap smear, and because we know you don't go for a pap smear because you enjoy it, you go because you need to check. Is there risk for your mammograms? Is there risk of breast cancer? Is there risk of cervical cancer? So we pay our consultations from our risk benefit. It's not going to come from day-to-day or savings, as well as the pathology. Your endoscopic procedures, very important, because again, you don't go for a colonoscopy or a gastroscopy because you enjoy it, we hope not. It's because there might be a risk of colon cancer, which we also offer as an extra screening. And we have a weight loss program where, because we want to emphasize the importance of living a healthy lifestyle, we reward and we give members who are or have a BMI that's over 30, which puts them at a higher risk of comorbidities, things like high blood pressure, cholesterol, and maybe cancer, is that we will pay for our members to go to a biokineticist and a dietitian, okay, so they can be educated on eating healthy and the benefits of exercise as well. colon cancer screening, and then for the gentleman over 40, your prostate screening. Very, very important. You need to go for these on an annual basis. It's not nice, but again, for those that don't have medical aid, how many of you actually go on your own? Do you know that a lot of the pharmacy clinics have screenings available there? If you cannot, the state facilities also offer these available. I know most of the people have left already, but if there is anybody here that did fill their name on my register, I am giving you your free gym towel. But the rest I will give to Marian, and then we can also just contact those members and they can come and collect at a later stage, should they not. But we are an open scheme. We are not only open to local government staff. Anybody living within the borders of South Africa can join us. But remember, the older you get, if you're older than 35, you can get late joiner penalties, and that makes medical aid more expensive. So again, don't wait to find out that you are sick, because there are waiting periods and penalties. Join early on, and prevention is better than cure. Okay, but thank you very, very much for your time, and thank you for the support at this event. It is highly appreciated. If you want more information or contact details, you're welcome to come to the help desks or any of the other stalls for the providers as well. Thank you so much.
Baie dankie, Jody. So I've said medical aids, and they're talking about being responsible for your own medical aid, financially responsible, and that's where they come in. Now, here's an organization that don't just want to talk about medical expenses; they want to talk about your life expenses. They're taking it further than that. So please welcome Wesley van Wyk. He's a financial planner at Old Mutual. Why is Wesley? Oh, okay. Wesley, I think. Oh yes, Wesley had to take his daughter to the doctor briefly. Sorry, I just remember he told me. So, in the meantime, Maureen, is there anybody else? Is Dr. Natasha or Advocate Natasha Miller here yet? Not. She's the one person that we missed out on today. So Wesley is not back yet, and I've run out of people on my list that can speak. So I'm going to call on Demorian Apollos. Is she here? In our office? Okay. So is somebody going to just please call Demorian for me? Thank you. So guys, if there's one thing that I've learned here today is that nobody is responsible for your health but yourself. And one of the big takeaways here is, and we've had people talk about all sorts of things, is that if you don't get yourself tested, and I think that it's come through all the talks that we've heard, if you don't take a preventative step, then don't expect miracles in curing when it's too late. So daai voorsorgmaatreëls wat jy tref, die mense is hier vandag is verniet. If you haven't had your screening done yet, until what time are you here? 5? Hulle is tot 5 uur hier so. Maak seker dat hulle jou bloeddruk neem. Ek bedoel, my bloeddruk gaan nog geneem word. Ek is gou net hier besig met 'n job as ek hier klaar is. Ons. If you haven't signed up as a blood donor, all I can say is I've been a blood donor for, I can't even remember, it's probably like 15, 20 years. Yeah, I look younger than I am. 15, 20 years, and it's one of the most rewarding things when you speak to somebody that has been in an accident or for some reason needed a blood product, and they say, oh, I got blood. They don't say platelets, they just say, I got blood. And in the back of my mind, I know, you know what, there's somebody else here that I might have whose life I might have influenced by donating blood. So the donating blood is not about yourself, it's about other people. And who knows, the day you might need blood, you're going to be thanking others who donated blood. So I'm going to encourage each and every one of you to please go and sign up with the Western Cape Blood Services. They're doing a sterling job there. As far as the other sponsors concerned here, Choc, I've known about for a really long time, and I'm so glad to see that there are organizations who think outside of that box, man. People always say, "You moet uit die box uitdink." Now these people, when you say think out the box, and when it comes to thinking of children and cancer, we don't always think that way. If I look at organizations today, I ask, wat the box praat jy van? Ek het lankal uit daai box uitgeklim. Now that's what they did. Okay, hulle het lankal uit daai box uitgeklim. And then if I look around pathcare, also screening, not today. Maar hulle kan na hulle toe gaan. Usually people don't realize that when your doctor wants blood work done, waar gaan hulle? Soontoe. At Mediclinic. Okay, so see, I'm doing free ads. Next time, when my radio station gets going, you're going to have to pay for that ad, okay? It's free for now. For the rest of you, while we're waiting on the Morian, oh, here she is already. Kom staan hier by my, man. Ek wil van jou skoner. I've known this lady for a paar weke, né?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm so glad I met her, because there are just some people that you meet them and you know, this is quality. And this next to me is one of those people. I'm going to call it Demorian Quality Apollos from now on. She's going to do the vote of thanks on behalf of the mayor and the Oudtshoorn Municipality. Put your hands together for Quality Apollos.
Baie dankie. Ons wil namens Journey of Hope for Cancer en die kantoor van die burgemeester wil ek vir ieder en elk baie dankie sê dat u vandag hier teenwoordig was vir ons borge en vir almal wat 'n stalletjie gehad het. Baie dankie, want sonder julle sou dit nie moontlik gewees het nie. Aan elkeen wat vandag opgedaag het om te kom luister en te kom deelneem, baie dankie. Ons nooi almal uit om môre saam met ons te kom skree vir kanker, wanneer ons 10:00 almal bymekaar kom langs die C. Langehoven biblioteek en ons deur die strate gaan ry vir kanker en ons gaan geraas maak vir kanker, sodat almal kan bewus word van kanker. En ons gaan dan afsluit by die NG Moederkerk, waar Dominee Gerald vir ons kamfer vir ons die diensie gaan lei in die Moederkerk. So ons nooi almal om saam met ons te ry deur die strate môreoggend. Ons is ook baie bevoorreg om môreoggend al die Suid-Kaap bykers te hê wat gaan deelneem aan môreoggend se kaakheid. So ons nooi almal en weer eens baie dankie vir almal.